has planned to check, act. So therefore, check the best practice and then act and implement it. Therefore, at the end, the traditional approach of quality management also has this check approach inside. And again, just like to give you an idea about the Chinese example. The Chinese universities wanted to get a higher ranking in citations, and not only in publications. So they put an incentive on it, and at first said, please publish more and more. And it happened. Thousands of articles were published with low quality. That means the citation index did not increase, only the number of publications increased. And then they put an incentive on it and said to each Chinese researcher, they get $1,000 if their paper is cited. $1,000 for a Chinese researcher. It's a lot of money. And nowadays they have the proof, the validation, that this process, this practice of giving them also the financial incentive worked. Because the number of citations tremendously increased. Maybe they're already close to the Americans or the Europeans. Therefore, not only the number of publications, but also the quality of publications increase. Therefore, yes, validation is very important, but also not each best practice must be the best practice in another culture, or in another environment.
Or another time.
Or another time, yes. That's right.
Can we get a view from Chile now?
Yes, let's see, my view is very short, and I think it's related with the near future of 2011. I mean, sitting here and listening and learning from different point of view related to benchmarking, it is all about how responsible I am to go and deploy and share the knowledge that I've been learning from yesterday and today. I always tell my students in Chile that knowledge management is all about sharing. So now at the end of the session you will have the CD, the presentation. Now the 60, 70 people that have been in the conference the last 2 days have the responsibility to share what happened with benchmarking, what is benchmarking about it, how can I start doing benchmarking in my organization. It's very simple, and that baby steps sometimes are hard to begin the journey of excellence. And in Chile, I think that's the best way that we can learn and begin the journey of excellence.
Thank you, George. Let's move to 2030. Before I come to you, I'd like a view from Egypt.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you for these two very interesting days and for these very valuable discussions. Actually, I have two challenges to the benchmarking. First of them, to add to the previous point, talking about the desire to learn and so on. So we have always said that you read in any book, you say that you can copy systems, processes, whatever, but you cannot copy people. Okay, so people are very important, they need to focus on them and so on. So where is the people side in the whole benchmarking efforts? And what are our plans for increasing the awareness with people, getting more people to get more dedicated, and we work as change agents to promote the idea. The other point for me is looking at the top management again. And if what we are doing is really great and we're totally convinced of benchmarking, why don't we have, where are the CEOs, where are the managing directors? Because maybe we are talking to ourselves, okay? And we are totally convinced. All the people here in the room, we totally agree on whatever is being said in the conference. But what is the involvement of the big guys? Do they really see value about benchmarking or not? I think this is also one of the challenges that we need to address. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Tariq, you had a comment to make?
Yeah, from my academic and from my business experience, I can tell you straight that the main challenge is not in information availability as much as the people willingness to go ahead and take the time and be persistent to really read and find that information and take the time to learn. You know, so many times I beg even some people say, please read this article, or read that, or read this, because this gives you the best practice about how things should be done. So I think a main challenge to probably developing societies is to get people to really, take the time and spend it to read and learn from the others' experiences. Their experience is available, it's out there, a lot of it is in books, and I tell you that also, even if that or this company is willing to share with you their own methodology or whatever, don't forget that in the definition of benchmarking, there is a step of adaptation. And even if the information you get it as is, you still have to know what to do with it and how to adapt it and fit it to your own organization. And that in itself is a big challenge, and it requires an effort from your side. Okay, so I think the issue of transparency, I'm not too much worried about it. In the future, probably 2030, I believe it's going to go away. He talked about the WikiLeaks, and I expect a lot of leaks happening all over the places, and with all these communications and possibilities, technology possibilities. The main issue is really to get us to utilize and take the time to utilize these information that's available out there.
Thank you, Doctor. Anyone else?
Yes, I was just going to quickly add something in terms of the transparency issue. It would be nice if we're all like Chile, friendly Chile, and George said they do benchmarking is not a problem, and it's this type of friendly benchmarking. So that's the ideal situation. So I think Chile have got a best practice there that we all need to follow. Then these confidentiality issues won't be such a big problem. I think in terms of engaging people in benchmarking and business improvement, it is a difficulty, but we've got to remember that benchmarking is one of the most powerful change management tools available. It's the easiest way to change somebody's opinion, the skeptics within the organisation, is to get them involved in a benchmarking project. Because part of a benchmarking project, they will see what other organisations are doing. They will see that the impossible can be achieved. So you can open their eyes for them when they're involved in a project. And then you need to involve them right from the start. You don't involve them when you found the best practice. They need to be part of the overall process. And then you'll get them on side and the best practice will be implemented. Thank you.
I think when it comes to encouraging people to select the best practice, there are two ways. There is a negative reinforcement and a positive reinforcement. Dr. Cole mentioned a positive reinforcement in China. They were encouraged to do better research by telling them that if their papers are cited, then they will get that much dollars. But also there are other ways, I think, as an example from the environmental issues, I would believe that the carbon emission tax is an example of a negative reinforcement. So when it comes to selecting the best practice, sometimes we have to do both. We have to choose even negative reinforcement. I mean, punish people who do not punish people or institutions or countries who do not implement the best practice.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought in the carbon footprints point of view. That's a very interesting subject for 2030. And may I request Terry to respond?
Yeah, I wasn't going to respond to that particularly. I was going to just throw something else in because people have talked about speed in terms of how quickly things are happening. I don't see any reason why speed can't be added to benchmarking as a concept and being a driver, in fact. I go to the American conference board meeting about 10 years ago. I reckon they were talking about speed in the US, and it was going to come to us inevitably, I don't think. But maybe he did come, but we just didn't write it up anyway. And we all talk about the circle, you know, things go round, you know, 10 years. I don't know how long you've been on the board, we joined it probably, but we've done a few years. And I'm sure some of our colleagues that we met when we joined were talking about these sorts of things. And I think what's different is that the circle has become a spiral. It's broken out, the circle, and it's growing now. And the driver, I think, is the need. All those catastrophes and all the rest of it is going to be the driver. And supported by sort of knowledge and all this technology that Holmes talks about. That's going to help make things go quicker. So I think we're doing it at the appropriate time, by which place for the GPNs to be not necessarily just a keeper, but someone who actually looks at the knowledge bank. And I think we talked about an updated knowledge bank, so there's a task. And obviously pushing it through to the private, public, and obviously the voluntary third sector. So that would be me sort of looking at it, trying to throw something else in the pot and say, well, there's no reason why we can't have speedy benchmarking.
Thank you, Terry. And may I request Ronald, who has been the author of the mega trends for benchmarking,
So I
and
will
to respond to all that he's been hearing before I ask Bruce to sum up the session.
So I will come back once again to the question of transparency. So you have talked about cultural or political factors as important issues of the trust between the companies or the benchmarkees as critical success factors. And within the GBN, we use a benchmarking code of conduct. So the benchmarkers have to clarify their relationship, how they want to benchmark, that they will have a trustful relationship. And I think this has been proven as a useful, successful basis for benchmarking. However, we will talk about 2030 and we will see how benchmarking methodologies will change in this process and within these years. And we have to see how we have to adapt this benchmarking code of conduct.
Thank you, Ronald. May we have one last view from Ahmed?
Just like to comment on Ahmed. Yes, what you said is correct. Why do we always look at far, far away? Why do we always looking at competitors? Why we have very big companies with very big production lines, departments, and we can do everything internally. We can practice benchmarking internally first. If it's successful, we are okay with it, then we can go ahead, sign and code of conduct. This is also to apply on your question about relationship. There are some code of conducts that both parties can agree on, and nobody can leak information, otherwise it will be in trouble. So yes, it can be done very successfully with the social media, with the current advancement. Now in every company there is an intranet, and that's it.
Thank you, Ahmed. Now may I request Bruce Service to summarize whether, what, and how.
Before I do, Suresh Ali, at the back of the start of the discussion, has been itching to say a wicked comment. Just one comment from the back. Ali's been had his hand up for about 10 minutes.
We can't say that there is really the confidentiality matter stops benchmarking. Benchmarking can be done. I don't think so confidentiality stops that doing benchmarking. Coming to the senior management point of view, that why senior management doesn't willing to do something like this benchmarking or something like this one. My belief is that there's no CEO comes or a minister comes in the morning and say, I don't want to develop my organization. Everybody has the way to develop their organization. It's maybe our mistake. We don't talk their language. We don't give them the material in a good way. I like when you say Dr. Robin in matter of videos, for example. People doesn't read anymore. Get one of your early 18, 19 kid and ask him to do a reading. He will never do reading. These guys want information on a quick